I've saved every creepy and inappropriate message from men trying to hit on me because I'm a woman in computer engineering, and one night I decided to release the files, and now the guys are begging me to take them down. I, 25F, went to college for computer engineering, and got a job in the industry afterwards. In college, my internships, and my job, I've dealt with harassment and I've had to get tough with people, telling them to stay the F away when I get the first whiff of sketchiness. Every time I've gotten a creepy text or instant message from another student or co-worker, I've screenshotted it and backed it up in Google Drive just in case it escalates. That's helped me a few times, when someone started to follow me around in college and when someone took things so far at work that I decided to go to HR. I don't report most of the stuff though, I don't want it to look bad like I'm always running to HR. Last night, I got really drunk with my friend because I had a day off planned for today. I went home in a kinda bad mood because we'd been talking about how she was going through similar stuff at work. I was in a screw-it-all mood and I uploaded my whole folder of screenshotted text messages to Facebook and Instagram, with the caption phone and inbox of a female computer engineer. And tagged all the men who had sent me messages, whose social media I could find. Some of the highlights were a bunch of married men hitting on me, and me replying, "Dude, you're married," or something along those lines. Some guys asking me out and then taking rejection badly. Some guys who would text me repeatedly even though I just replied, "Don't contact me, other than for work purposes." Explicit messages, or messages commenting on my appearance out of the blue. Overall, just messages from people ignoring my wishes to be left alone. This morning, I woke up to my phone blowing up. I had planned to take a vacation day off work today. A lot of the guys I tagged in my social media posts had contacted me demanding or pleading that I remove the posts. Most everyone had untagged themselves. The Facebook post had gotten some attention from my friends, but my 2 Instagram posts, I had to make 2 to fit all the photos, had blown up. I had a lot of new followers, a lot of strangers commenting on my post, mostly supportive. I also had an email from HR at work asking me to meet with them first thing Monday morning. I replied to say that I would. I don't know what to expect there at all. I have not replied to any other messages about my posts. I need some advice. Should I speak to the guys who texted me about the posts? Some are very angry with me because they are married and their wives found out. I'm thinking it's safest to not. Should I leave the posts up, or remove them? Or wait to see how things go with HR before I decide? Should I be worried for my safety? I feel a little nervous, but I don't know if I'm overreacting. Edit to explain something. Quite a few of these men were not under my current companion's control. Such as classmates and a TA from college, men I knew from summer internships at different companies, and a guy from a past job. Out of the 4 people from my current job, I reported him to HR actually. 2 and 3, married men who asked me out or hit on me outside of work hours. And did not present a problem at work. That did not seem like HR's domain. 4, a guy who asked me out outside of work hours, and got mildly passive-aggressive over text when I rejected him. But did not bring his BS into the office. Commenter: what action did HR take on the incidents you reported? If they didn't do anything and allowed a hostile workplace to continue unabated, then they could be stepping in by firing you. HR's number 1 priority is looking out for the company. Their number 2 priority is looking out for HR. So if you feel like HR has dropped the ball and allowed a hostile work environment to go unchecked, stick to your guns. Don't blame this on being drunk because that will give them an out. I'll tell the whole story here. He was very pushy about wanting to date me, repeatedly showed up where I was outside of work, tried to get me alone in the office and talk about inappropriate stuff, even though I told him to stop, often in writing, every step of the way. I reported it all to HR, and they asked me if I'd switch teams because it would be a liability issue to have us stay on the same team. I said I would not. They reassigned him to a different team. He hasn't contacted me or followed me anywhere after that, but he keeps giving me the evil eye when he sees me, which is kinda unsettling. Specifically guys who are looking to cheat on their wives with a new young intern, new hire. Or guys who got angry with me for saying no to them. I didn't post any of the texts from guys who asked me out, and treated me with respect if I said I wasn't interested. Update: 3 days later. A lot happened over the weekend. I did a lot of research into employment law. I read through the whole company handbook again, and for each person I mentioned in my social media posts, I wrote out a detailed account of their behavior towards me for my own reference, stuff that had not been said over text. I also screenshot and backed up any angry or threatening texts towards me that I received this weekend from the men whose old texts I'd posted online. I think it's worth giving some background on the 4 people included in my social media posts that I knew from my current job. Coworker 1, a few months ago, I had reported him to HR for harassment in the past, and he was moved off my team to another position in the company where he would not have any contact with me. He had signed a paper saying that he must not contact me for any reason, whether that is work-related or not. I didn't sign anything during this process. The messages from him that I posted on Facebook were old texts from him to my personal phone, making a comment about how I looked nice at work and how I must have been dressing up for him. I'd replied that I was not. He asked me who I was dressing up for at work, if not him, because then he'd know who to be jealous of. I said myself and told him to stop texting me on my personal phone. A few days later, he sent me a message telling me my new hair color was hot and asking me to drinks. That was a small snippet of creepy things he'd sent me. There was plenty more that I didn't post. I found out today that he was the one who showed HR my posts. As I understand it, he had assumed I had signed a similar no-contact agreement that he'd had too. I had not ever made that agreement, in writing or vocally. I'd just not been talking to him because I had no desire to. Coworker 2, he was married, and in the office, he didn't seem to do anything out of line. He had my number since I would be traveling for work and wanted my team members to be able to contact me. We don't have work cell phones. Out of the blue, he texted me asking me to join him at a fancy seafood restaurant when I returned from my work trip. It sounded like a date. I texted back, "You're married," and he said some stuff about how nobody would have to know, and how I seemed like a girl who could keep a secret. I told him to fudge off. He was fired a week later for unrelated reasons, so while I've been thinking about going to HR, I never did. I haven't heard from him since, even after my social media post. Coworker 3, he was also married. One time I was at a work happy hour and I left pretty early. He texted me on my work instant messaging platform, which I have on my phone, asking me to go party with him. I asked, "Is your wife coming?" and didn't get a response. I didn't think it was bad enough to report to HR as harassment, because something usually has to be done repeatedly to qualify as harassment, unless it is something egregious. That was in the company handbook, in less concise words. That text exchange was included in my post. After my post, he sent me a slew of threatening texts. Apparently his wife had seen the post, and I had ruined his family. He said that I was about to get what was coming for me real soon, and to watch out, which sounded like a threat. Also called me a couple homophobic slurs. I'm openly bisexual. Coworker 4, he had just broken off an engagement. I didn't hear that from him, just through the rumor mill. He contacted me asking me if I wanted to go out, and I said that he wasn't really my type to date. He said that he wasn't looking for anything serious, just casual intercourse. I didn't reply for a few hours, and then he sent me a second text saying, "Well, then go ahead and be a batch and leave me on read." Since it happened outside of work, and was not any kind or repeated harassment, I also didn't think that it would be reasonable to bring it to HR unless I saw a pattern of similar behavior. He didn't contact me again, even after my post. As for people from past jobs, internships, or classes, my college contacted me about my old TA who had tried to hook up with me repeatedly, and stopped helping me with the course when it was clear he wasn't getting anywhere. They asked me if I'd give a statement. Apparently he was still doing that, and someone else had reported him. And they saw from my post that I'd likely have something to report to. A married guy who tried to get with me when I was an intern at another company sent me some really angry and threatening texts. I have to figure my Instagram post, with his public Instagram account tagged, caused problems in his marriage. I definitely have been taking extra steps to stay safe when I'm leaving my apartment or going anywhere. I'm considering reporting this to the police because it was the most overtly threatening thing I've received. A few other people I tagged sent me texts telling me how shitty it was not to keep private conversations private, etc. I ignored all those. As for what happened this morning, in my HR meeting, I was all ready to go in with, metaphorical, guns blazing, defend everything I'd said or done with sources from the company handbook. Such as how I did not violate the company's social media policy, as it only prohibited pretending to speak for the company as a whole if PR is not your job, or reveal confidential code or design or business contracts online. I didn't mention my company in my post, or anywhere else on my social media. I was also ready to defend how I follow the guidelines of what is considered harassment and should be reported. How I reported repeated harassment, but didn't report isolated incidents that were not extreme. The examples of extreme conduct included unwanted overtly touching, or threats of violence. The handbook specifically mentioned that asking someone out once was not harassment. But the meeting ended up being much more low-key than I had been expecting. I'd taken down both posts Sunday, as an act of good faith, though I doubted that would matter much. When I went in, I sat down and asked if I could record the meeting. The HR representative, I'll call her Beth here but that's not her real name of course, said okay. She wanted to talk about each of the specific people I'd posted screenshots from, who work at the company. Those made up less than a third of my screenshots FYI. First was coworker 1. The guy I had previously reported to HR and who had been moved to a different team and told that he must not speak to me or contact me. Beth said that he had brought the post to her attention, as he was under the impression that the no-contact agreement went both ways. I reminded her that I had not entered into a written or verbal agreement. I was surprised it was him who brought it up, but I didn't say anything. She asked if there had been continued harassment or contact from him after my initial report. I said no. She moved on to the next quickly. Coworker 2 had been fired a while back for unrelated reasons, but Beth still asked if there had been any further conflict between us, while he was employed, other than the text messages. I said no. She asked me the same question about coworker 3. I told her that I had received texts from him on Saturday that came across as threatening, and used several slurs about my sexuality. I gave her a printout of those messages. She read them, and immediately stepped out to show them to her manager. She came back after a few minutes to continue talking with me. And again for coworker 4. I told her that he had not contacted me after he said I was a batch for leaving him on read. Beth asked me if I had any questions, and I basically asked what her next steps would be. She said that she would have asked me to remove the post so that things could be handled with discretion. However, I had already removed both prior to the meeting. She also said that she would be meeting again with coworkers 1 and 4. She also said that due to coworker 3's threatening comments, he had been escorted out of the building while we had been speaking. Fired. Apparently he was already on record with them, for another issue relating to his temper, and this was the last straw. She also asked me why I had not brought coworkers 2, 3, and 4 to her attention before. And I cited the section on harassment from the company handbook, saying that harassment was repeated unwanted comments or actions. And that a single event is not usually considered harassment unless it is extreme. The conversations with those 3 men had been isolated incidents. She asked me if I would be more comfortable taking a personal day for the rest of the day, while she speaks to coworkers 1 and 4. She said she wanted to make it clear that I was not being dismissed or escorted out, I was not getting fired, it was only a precaution so that I would not be around coworkers 1 and 4, in case either of them wanted to confront me personally. I said I would. So that's where I'm at right now. Commenter: some people are incapable of conceiving of themselves as being in the wrong. That guy probably viewed his harassment of you as a mutual work disagreement that you both got in trouble for. He thinks conditions must have been placed on you because conditions were placed on him. It is inconceivable to him that he was the aggressor and you were the victim. No, it doesn't make sense. OP, lol, you are very right in saying he saw it more as a mutual disagreement. Initially he tried to claim that I was harassing him back for using profanity towards him like fudge off and don't say that shot to me.